boys.
Okay, boys. Take a big picture, boys.
Welcome to episode 2 of The Horse of Course. We just realised that our microphone was muted. Thank you. It proves the system works. Welcome to Cambridge. We've had a few. It's 10:30 at night here in Cambridge, 6:30 in Hong Kong. It's a special live episode of The Horse of Course. Please stop calling me now. I know I know that we were on mute. I've got a special live episode coming at you from Cambridge, from Deano's house in Cambridge. And we've got our outgoing COO, Nick Hewson, with us here, and our community director, Deano Herewini, over here. So this is a live format. If you'd like to make comments in the Facebook feed, please do so. If you'd like to ask some questions to the boys about their time at Valley, please do that. Any ones that we like, we'll pop them up on the screen. We've got some special guests coming at us from around the world, from France, from England, from Hong Kong, from New Zealand throughout the show. And if you would like to be on the video podcast tonight, I'll put a link up in a moment on the Facebook feed, and you can click the link. And if we have time, we'll try and get you in. So let's get going. First question for the guys. What have you been doing? I think we've all been back here since about the grand final, which was 8th of February. Valley against Football Club. Deano, start with you. How long have you been back here now? What's going on?
Bugger all.
Yeah, look at the replay.
Yeah, no, it's been good to be home with family and green grass. A lot of space, catching up with family as much as you can. Lockdown here at my brother and his family's home. Mowed the lawns and washed the car and cleaned the swimming pool and stuff like that. So it's just nice to be here. Left my jandals at Hewson's place the other day, so walked around town barefoot. So I really felt at home, really, to be honest.
Yeah, welcome back to Cambridge's favourite son. Hews, you've also been back. You got on the plane after the grand final, scarpered back here with Claire and Emily and Jacob. What have you been up to?
Yeah, got back and saw a bit of family and yeah, been settling back in really. Been lucky enough to be in a big bubble and on a farm, so the kids have had a bit of space, and my wife's been working very hard. She's still teaching, and
Yeah.
but yeah,
Someone's working then in the family.
yeah.
Well, 2 days ago we couldn't have had this meeting, right? The level 3 to level 2, and here we are now. I want to tell a little yarn to get things going, and if you've got a yarn or a story, put it in the Facebook feed. Hopefully you can hear us now. And we've got some guest speakers later as well. I want to tell my story about how I met you two. So I met Deano here in 1991 on a Rugby World Cup tour. We were we were 30 guys that went from New Zealand over to the UK, one of the most disastrous campaigns to date. I think it's the second Rugby World Cup. You taught me the haka in a motel room in LA at about 4 a.m. on day 3, I think. You taught everybody, not just me. And that was a haka that we carried on for 46 days. That was a crazy tour, wasn't it? Back there in 91.
Yeah, that night, 4 a.m., the police knocked on the door and said, "Can we tone it down a little bit?" So we gave them a bit of a rendition of the haka as well. So, yeah, we left pretty quickly the following morning.
And then I didn't see you for 5 years until 1996. And I turned up to Valley, I think it was October 31. It was Halloween 1996. I jumped off a plane, had been to Asia, and Robin Bradbury brought me straight down to training that night. And there was Deano. So that was your first week as well. Tell us about those first weeks and months of coming to Hong Kong and what it was like and meeting all the Valley people.
Yeah, I suppose it's quite weird when you're coming from a small country town of Cambridge and there really isn't any buildings bigger than 2 stories here. And then you get to Kaita Airport planes flying in between buildings and so forth. So yeah, massive eye-opener. So I landed on a Thursday night late. Neil Walton picked me up and went back to his house, and it was on a Friday night. Vaughan going as he tui by, and the list goes on back in that era there. So it was a tradition of going out on a Friday night. There was a couple of pre-premiership games. We had a game the following day. I hadn't turned up to training yet, so sort of first week. And, I thought, well, this is great. The club's sort of introduced me to all the players, the spouses, girlfriends, and all that came out one night. We were down at the old China Jump, Causeway Bay, and having a couple of beers. And I thought, right, okay, well, I sort of came off a pretty good season in the Waikato, and I was ready to go home to bed about 9 o'clock, polish my boots, and then Vaughan going, out comes the rum and cokes, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 4 a.m. And I'm going, don't we have a game? And pretty much they said we don't kick off until 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Sleep all day, rock up down to the Happy Valley at 20 minutes before kickoff. And that's pretty much was the introduction of Hong Kong and Valley. And that was the tradition of roll as it goes.
Yeah, we used to have, I remember, pretty big Wednesday nights, down at it's called Happy Wednesday now, but the races on a Wednesday, or the Joe Bananas, we were ongoing as and Moose and Roddy, but there was a bunch of imports that year that were quite a special group as well. The Matt Phillips was one, but a bunch of Australians as well.
Yeah, we had some we have characters every year. We bring in some pro players and so forth. So yeah, the O'Hara brothers, Johnny Nihal, well known for certain antics, but they bring a different element. It was great. It was basically just trying to babysit them all. I was probably one of the senior players here, I suppose. One of the new pros looking after the next ones.
Responsible ones
down at our New Valley flat in Kennedy Town. So one flat was for the Aussies and Happy Valley was for the Kiwis, sort of thing, So it was good fun just watching these new players coming in, these Aussies. All they want to do a party, so they were in the old element into Hong Kong, So
yeah. And the rugby back then was pretty strong. Would you said like with each club bringing in 7 or 8 players in a season. We had Matthew Dowling, Dougie Ferguson that first year as well before the O'Haras.
Yeah,
and he went on to play for the Waratahs. Scored 4 tries against Ireland, I think.
Yeah, I mean these guys came out of nowhere and they were just good club guys,
Yeah.
Just the same old what you get nowadays. I think they've just embedded into the Valley culture that we had back in those days until what it is now. And I can't see anything change from that aspect. When someone rocks up to the Valley, they're always a Valley man, Once you're a Valley man, you're always a Valley man, except for a handful that were the football club, Get the cows and we'll come back to that later on.
But a lot of the friends that we made back then, they're still mates with us, aren't they? They're still in Hong Kong. They're like 20, 30 years sort of guys. Great friendships.
Yeah. Oh, and I've made so many friends. We all have, when I decided to come back to New Zealand, it was like, where do I start to say goodbyes and so forth? Because there's so many people to thank, and the list goes on all the way down to Valley Fort, to the local Magis, to the Knights, and the premiership and the sponsors. Oh, it's just awesome. So it's a big change. It's a good change to come back to New Zealand, but quite a sad occasion to leave something that's been quite close to me, I suppose, for a long, long time.
Yeah, and we'll get on to the specifics of that. And then in 2005, as if things weren't bad enough, Nicholas Hewson debuted on the scene, the young 21-year-old, probably one of the youngest imports, you'd say, that we've had up in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Quite amazing. And I remember the night that you arrived and you came with Coach Brian Higgins from Hautapu. And we were at a bit of a shindig at Juddy Temera and Mike Diamond's place in the Valley. We're all up there having a bit of a chungalaka on the guitar, and someone said, "Hey, aren't those new guys arriving about now? Shouldn't someone meet them at the airport?" We had a big plan that someone was going to be there, me or Lee Carson or someone, and Jay Going said, "Oh, screw those guys, they can find their own way back here." What were your first impressions arriving in Valley with your homemade haircut? And I've got to get this point across. You look worse than now, And we've just improved this haircut. An hour ago, Dino's clipped off the remains of a mullet, but you had your own made haircut. Out of your element, you're young and you've come across overseas under the wing of Higgy. And what were your first impressions? And, did you think you'd be there for 15 years?
I'll just put it one way. It's probably no worse than what your haircut is now.
But, come on. That's a cheap shot, mate. Come on. Stick to the question.
I do remember arriving and, there was no one at the Airport Express waiting for us. This Jason Going guy. So we're on the phone at the Airport Express going, is someone coming to pick us up? Anyway, we got Toby Bland coming down. For some reason, he had a big baseball bat coming down. It was quite humorous. And then we ended up going to Blandy's place. It was good fun. And then it all just sort of blended in, and it was a great season that season, and made so many friends. There was a year that we had the 100-minute final, and
who were the sort of names around that time that were enduring names for you that you came in the leadership group and guys that went on a few more years?
Well, Juddy was captain back then. Justin Timada, Andrew Wonky, there was Johnny Garlow, Jack Bennett, just trying to think, Brett Ford. Then there's people in the club, they're still here. Brett Stewart was the chairman, Lee Castle, Prav Daswani, guys like that. They were stalwarts of the club still back then. And yourself, of course.
Was there any moment during those opening weeks, months, where you thought you'd made a mistake, or you felt homesick, or you just wanted to get the hell out of here?
No, not at all. It was a great experience. So, Valley's always been really, really welcoming, and you're with a friend and someone who wanted to go out for a beer and be part of it. So, that's the thing about Valley. Its culture is always fantastic and very welcoming, and making sure that people get around, and it's an amazing community. So that's very vivid in my mind.
Yeah, Deano, you were not the first player from Hautapu Rugby Club to make the journey, but there's a real strong connection, the strongest club connection we've got over 20 years that we've been there, 25, with Hautapu Sports Club in Cambridge here. How did that start, and what does that relationship mean to you?
Yeah, I suppose the first one would be Neil Walton. So he sort of felt the biggest trip from South Africa and popped to Hong Kong with Stuart Cronin, I think, and he was sort of initiated for another player, and they were looking for an outside back and found me and got me over. The opportunity to come in and voluntarily put myself in the front row.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. It was, just knowing someone when you landed in Hong Kong, had that sort of club connection, played rugby with them back at Hautapu in Cambridge. And then it sort of filter on when we were looking for players. And at that time, I was probably on the committee and convener, I suppose. And I said, right, easiest way to get some pro players over to Hong Kong was with the contacts that I had. So Hautapu became quite a bit of a stronghold between Valley. Mick Hewson, just to name a few, Brent Taylor, Brian Higgins came over as a coach, Matty Phillips, who went on and played for Italy.
Mm.
Keith Lowen, another successful player that went on and played for the All Blacks. Tyapa Tomlinson, Benny Remini, Kirk Munro, Lee Jones. I think there's quite a Ruanda Poi, probably one of the latest ones. It's quite ironic at the moment that I came back and all the Hong Kong jerseys are up in the clubhouse. It's probably one of the, apart from the Hong Kong jersey, quite dominates the a wall in our club rooms back here in Cambridge. So quite a good feel behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's prevailing even now, isn't it? Nick, did you sort of? I mean, you were also one of the first ones to come along. Did you feel there was something special between the two clubs?
Yeah, Higgy, who I came over with, or who brought me over with him, was.
You get your kids down on the plane?
Oh, I didn't quite, not quite. Should have. Yeah, there was always a deep affiliation with Tautapu, and it's still strong and worked out very well out of the club. Both sides have been beneficiaries of it, so it's been a great partnership.
I think that I would first of all like to say on behalf of the club that we're going to miss both you guys tremendously. You've been a huge influence on the club for a long time. I can say as a former chairman, my job was massively easier having both of you around and doing so much for the club in all regards. It's kind of interesting listening to when people arrive, because obviously there's my memory dims with age. I always remember Deano arriving because he arrived the same year I did, but I thought Hewson arrived a lot earlier than 2005. So I would say in terms of memories, I mean, my fondest memory of Deano is joining him and Matt Dayton to make probably the largest front row ever in the history of the club for Olsen's 30th anniversary game, which was against Football Club, which was, quite a hiding to nowhere for them. So it was, that was a good, it's always a special day when you have to take Deano and make him into a hooker. So it's that was good fun. Hews, didn't get much time on the pitch with Hews. I think the only time I did was typified by him yelling at me because I wasn't getting around the pitch fast enough up in a game at Kings Park, and par for the course. But anyway, but the best memories from my side are just the day-to-day interactions and helping, and I think a lot of the success of the club over the last 15 years, has been directly involved these two in one way or another, getting the club moving forward. So wish you guys all the best, and Hong Kong is a lesser place without you.
Hi, Deano and Nick and Boozer. So, obviously we're very, very sad that both Deano and Nick are leaving, but I'm in the fortunate position of being from the Waikato, so I feel like they're not really leaving because I'll be seeing them when I come home. So they've both made a massive contribution to the club, and I'm now going to go into a small room because otherwise I'm getting a reverb from the TV. So anyway, sorry, hang on a minute. Ladies, could you turn it off because I can't hear? I'm going to, So hang on, I'm going to try and turn this around so you can see where I am. Guys, we're here in the Kung. I've got Bella, Sam, Adma and TY. Obviously a safe social distancing group here in Hong Kong. This is the Song Sai Kung evening. So a little bit earlier than in New Zealand. Anyway, sorry, as I was saying, so to Deano and Nick, both of you've made a massive contribution to the club. We will miss seeing you on a day-to-day basis. I've moved out of the valley, so it doesn't matter so much. I won't see Deano at the bar and grill every other day. But, we will miss you, but I know we're going to always see you in support, and we will see you when we come back to Cambridge. I can't hear any questions from Boozer, so we'll see if I can hear anything. I'll answer some.
Or hear anything. So just a little message to the boys. It's a pretty sad thing, I think, for the club that you're both leaving. But obviously, Boozer, it's in good hands, mate. So I understand you've taken over the reins. Big shoes to fill, but I think you've got pretty big feet, apparently. Mate, listen, Deano, mate, I remember so many good memories. Very good memories with you down in the classified, pounding out the work to get things done, and obviously it was one of my great experiences as a coach. To be honest, in Hong Kong with such a great group of blokes and led by that culture, which was Nick, and it really gave me that real passion that I'd lost in coaching, and I sort of refound that down in Hong Kong, which is and it was one of the obviously the best coaching experiences I've ever had. And unfortunately, I've lost that again coming back to France, which is probably not surprising. But I'd really look forward to seeing both of you at some stage down the track. I hope your futures are as successful as your past career has been in Hong Kong, and I'm sure that will be, because good people always end up doing well and end up achieving the goals they set out to do. Listen, it's a real shame I can't hear you or see you, but I wish you all the best, guys. Great times down at the club. Great times down at the Valley. What a great club! One of the world's great rugby clubs. Listen, all the best, guys, and hopefully get to chat soon to both of you. You too, Boozer. Good luck to you, mate.
Thanks, boys, for everything you've done. Amazing commitment that you guys have put in. You've all been through tons of chairmen, tons of coaches, and you've ridden it out, served the club amazingly. We're going to miss you guys a lot. Thanks, boys. Cheers.
Hello?
Okay, you're back with us. You're back in Cambridge. We're sorry about all the technical difficulties and apologise to everyone who dialed in. I think we got a bit of Kim and Reby and Brett Stewart. We got Jack Isaac. We got Higgy. And there's a few others still waiting. We're really sorry about that. Let's continue on with the fireside chat. As you can see, there is actually a fire. Memories. Let's talk about Valley memories, first of all. So over 15 seasons, you must have a long list of memories, mostly positive. What are some of the highlights for you, Nick?
Oh, look, I've got plenty of memories, actually. First of all, obviously, great mates. Got some really close friends that I played rugby with, and through Hong Kong and through Valley. But you always remember back some of those championships that you won, and Ben Rimini, I'll give him heaps about the one that he had the pole on, but he won us about 7 or 8 just by himself. So he was a fantastic number 10 for the club. We've had so many good guys come through the club. Just seems like every year that we get a abundance of new guys and good guys to go with it. So,
any tours? Obviously you've done some pretty spectacular end of season tours after grand final wins, Miami, Vegas, Koh Samui, Tomorrowland in Belgium. It's pretty hard to pick a winner, or is it?
Yeah, it is pretty hard to pick a winner. There was the Miami and Vegas ones were pretty good. I think just touring with Adam Ralston is just a highlight for anyone who wants to go on a tour. You go on with Adam Ralston. He just adds value all the time.
Ask Ronnie Rutland, I guess.
Yeah.
The dog, yeah.
Yeah, watch The Longest Hole. You can understand why.
That dog made that show, I heard.
But no, just so many good guys. And so many people to thank. Tommy Hall's a massive factor of the club as well.
Yeah.
And we're just led so brilliantly in the club throughout. There's so many leaders.
On that point, Deano, I mean, he's obviously very humble. I mean, what sort of role do you think Hews has played over his 15 years? He's 58 appearances for Hong Kong. No one's won more GCs and league titles or played more games for Valley. What impact as a player and then later as a GM and a COO has he had on the Valley?
I suppose, when someone's won that amount of leagues and championships behind them, so they've had massive respect from the players. not too sure from the match officials and coaches, I suppose. Was a bit of a menace on the pitch, but he played hard. You know, he's always out there and quite passionate for the club. So, you know, for Nick to carry on for playing for so long, Valley meant a lot to Nick, I suppose. And even so, when he went into the sort of the managerial role too. So it was quite interesting to see Nick transit between a player to a manager. So, you know, from a player's point of view, I had him captain a couple of times, and he was quite, you know, he had his opinions on the pitch towards match officials. And then when he got into the managerial role, he was pretty much saying, yep, okay, yes, sir, no, sir, go to meetings and then fight our battles as well. So not much really changed with Nick from a player to a managerial role. But, long story cut short, we've had some really good times in the management side of things over the last 8 seasons. Good man to work with. You know, always asking for receipts. So I've just been writing them up from a bar and grill, bit of paper, really, you know, and hopefully that gets through the budget.
Handwritten notes from the bar and grill.
Yeah, you know, so it's always kept us on our toes, you know. So, you know, there's money to spend, I'm spending it, but there's money to spend, Nick won't give it to me. So there's a pre-warning for you, Boozer, to take over.
Hey, we talked about the caliber of players, you know, over that period, and you know, when we rocked up, you know, and guys like Matt Dowling, Izzy Vaughan, you know, Moose and Roddy and Carl Murray, and then Rob Grinley, Paul Dingley, just a very sort of spectacular sort of group of players over 10 years, and then you know, even they will, you know, acknowledge that, you know, what Nick's done over, you know, his playing career of like 11 or 12 years is better than they, you know, much more than they would hope to have achieved. He's had a sort of persistence and an endurance and just a annoying, you know, persistence about him that he just at such high levels he wanted to keep pushing the boundary. And to get respect from those kinds of guys, you know, it's something. You know, they were the guys of the 90s that you played with. It's something indeed.
And it's probably expected, Boozer and Valley. You know, we all knew when Nick Hewson ran on the pitch, we knew what we were going to get. One of the interesting things I think, and I saw Pale Tauti's name on the screen early on, you know, players like that, that Nick's probably had some fond battles against him, against Cricket Club, and so forth, you know, good teammates in the national squad. There's a lot of respect outside of Valley and other clubs towards Nick because of, you know, I suppose the aura that he's had. He loves the word aura. He keeps telling me I've got aura.
He means mana.
Mana. And he carries that well, you know, not so much with Valley, but Hong Kong in general. So, you know, he can take his hat off, walk away from Hong Kong knowing that he's actually achieved a lot.
Yeah. Should we have a drink for Nick?
Oh, Nicky Payne, bro.
Cheers, Nick. You sign off the receipts, brother?
Do a receipt. Get a receipt.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Well, that was a bit of a circle jerk. There's bloody heads about to explode here. Now let's hype you up a bit, Deano. You played 16 internationals. You captained the Valley. You won 6 league titles, 4 GCs. You played yourself in your own right. You know, you were a Waikato man. You came over. Some massive highlights there for you. So firstly, Valley, in those early years, any of those stand out for you, the sweet victories?
Oh, mate, where do you start, eh? I mean, winning the grand final, it's like, what am I going to expect in Hong Kong? How big is this rugby? You've heard about Valley. You've heard about the culture, and I've experienced it in my first week there, and I'm going, wow, this is a wow factor. But it's actually quite bigger than that. People remember it for years. They don't remember the league. We win the league, we don't really remember it. It sort of only lasts overnight.
Yeah.
You win the grand finals, you know, it's 12 months of gloating, celebrations type of thing. Big, long barbell that keeps going and going and going.
That's right.
Yeah, just many highlights, Boozer, from the players. It was my first time I won a grand championship with Valley in my first year. And then I suppose in going into the managerial coaching role where, you know, working with a class act like Mikey Diamond, He brought massive elements to culture, my way, highway, just pretty hard. Road to Vegas type man. A couple of rib shops for the boys, so do miss that sort of thing. But stuff like when we struggled, we end up 5th in the league, we're losing players, the Knights didn't have a team, and me and Mikey and Fats, I suppose, we sort of rebuild that. And after Christmas, we went through to win the Grand Champions from out of nowhere. So that to me is probably a bit of a highlight, but that's all down to, mate, just good bastards, so to speak. Good club culture. People want to put your hand up while I play for you, Boys playing double up games. Boys playing 3 games a week. All of those things that come in. And one of the last ones for me is just the connection. The club's just got bigger and bigger. Valley Fort, netball, hockey, street parties, huge, 300 plus people. That's girls everywhere, boys everywhere. The club has got club days nowadays. Is just a highlight in the rugby union calendar. Yeah, you go down to Happy Valley pitch, and it is just Valley branded, Valley Fort kids, netball, hockey. That's probably something I'm just pleased to look back that I can walk away and the club's in good hands.
Yeah, that's nothing that's happened overnight, is it? That's the result of a lot of good chairmen, coaches, conveners, committee members, volunteers, and I think we've got great sponsors, and the club, through Nick and Brett and our chairman have cultivated a group of good sponsors. International then, 58 caps, Nick, most capped Hong Kong player. Let's pump him up again.
Cheers, bro.
Another invoices. Let's not forget about all those. I mean, you've played at the Hong Kong Sevens, you've played at the sort of World Series, you've played the World Cup Sevens, you've played in World Cup rugby repecharges. So many highlights. I just wanted to ask you, what was any unfinished business stuff you would like to have done that, came close?
Yeah, the last one, the World Cup repecharge in the last. We wanted to qualify for the World Cup
in France.
Yeah, that was a bit of a tough pill to swallow, I guess. But I've had so many great highlights along the way. I've played with so many good blokes.
Go on, give us some real highlights.
Some real highlights.
What's it like? Sorry, to run out in front of 40,000 people at the Sevens and lead the team out there? It must be massive.
It was awesome playing the Sevens. It was really cool. There was one year that we somehow made it to the final of the bowl of the Hong Kong Sevens, and playing against England, that was a real highlight. And we were a close group of guys in that tournament. There's the McQueens and Jamie Hoods and Ryan Barties and that core group of guys. Righty and different guys like that. We're still all good mates. So that was a real highlight. Then in the Test match arena, you come close to your back threes and like Goose and Parlay and Monty and Batters, and we had you get some really close mates, and you almost go to war with them. So it's great. I've got so many fond memories. Some really good coaches, Lee and Di and Higgy and all my Valley coaches as well. Jack, Dino, Ned. Nick Ledger. We've done really well.
Yeah. It's been fun also being able to commentate, in some of those matches, and it's always fun looking down and seeing guys that you feel close to, not just the Valley guys, like you say, you develop that bond with everyone. Hong Kong's a very small rugby circle, and you just want them to do well. And, but gutting things, as an observer, that's right in it, you don't get much closer, without being on the field and calling the game and seeing things like the sevens last year, the Olympic qualifiers, you feel just as gutted as the guys on the field that have travelled such a journey to, get to that point. It's exhilarating, and it's stressful, and it's tense and all that, and it's why we love about sport, isn't it? It's the ups and downs. And Deano, back in your day, we had this fantastic pan pack operation, travelling around home and away against Canada, Japan, USA, and that must have been one hell of a series.
Well, it was, it was an opportunity that came about, led by George Simpkin, I suppose, Jamie Scott, one of the founders of the tournament itself. Back in those days, I was lucky enough to qualify for Hong Kong under the new regime of IRB 1 year status. So you didn't have to qualify for 3 years. Hong Kong was the only country that we got a dispensation to qualify under 12 months. So, mate, we were in. So we're Hong Kong. We got selected to the tournament between Japan, Canada, USA on a home and away basis. So, trips up to San Francisco, Vancouver, and Tokyo. It was just unbelievable tour. You're on the road for a long period of time. So, great players. Valley dominated, which they have for a long time, and sort of now shared a little bit with a lot of clubs down with the ERP program nowadays. But when we went away, there was literally the team sheet would have been 13 to 15 Valley players on the national team sheet type of thing. So, and that's how strong Valley was. And probably that area there, we had 2 teams in the Premiership division. A highlight of that one year was, it was a great tournament. Rugby was outstanding, but beating Japan, USA, and Canada in the 1 year was a bit of a highlight for Hong Kong and all those players. And one of the other highlights, of course, the management was just outstanding with the Hong Kong Rugby Union credit card afterwards, and just let it rip until 24 hours later when they said, you're working as a staff member, can you sign off? And I'll go, the worst thing they've ever did. So, yeah, great opportunities. I mean, people know what I'm like, it's all about stash.
Kit, yeah.
Kit, those that do know, I'm not too sure, but at the union, they gave me a job to actually do the distribution of kit to the Sevens merchandise stores prior to. So that was a bit of a bad move on their behalf, because one of the distribution stores was our flat. And then the warehouse raid, I'm not sure if anyone on here from the union anyway, but
not a raid, more of a Christmas shopping spree.
Oh yeah, but we only had a half an hour window because I've got to get the union van back because I only signed it out for an hour. So yeah, it was good. It was good. Those days are great. I came in and I did the same thing with Valley. I could tell you that now with Nick here because I've left. It was great. There's so many laughter.
It's funny now that I see, I travel through Cambridge and I see more people with Valley gear on than what I did in Hong Kong.
Or the 1997 World Cup Sevens kit. Yeah, Foz is over there. Dino's brother. He's dressed in a full Valley tracksuit. Watching this, says, "Come to my wardrobe."
But one of the other stories, Bruce, just while you're here, buddy, is I suppose when you came on the scene and towards my latter first, then I was heading off to Indonesia, and then I was convener at the time for the rugby section.
Yes,
had a great time. Once again, head of kit. And run the program, really, the rugby section. And one of the I suppose the highlights, Friday night, sitting at the beach house with the boys in front of a fax machine, getting teams out, trying to get freaking 5 teams out and people to reply by fax.
Yeah.
Are you available? So you had to redo another fax, and it was literally fax. It was hilarious. But we got teams out every Friday night. Was the freaking busiest night ever. I was never allowed out, so. And then when you came on board and I was heading overseas and you went to the toilet at the AGM and I left a folder on your chair and nominated you when you went to the toilet and came back and you're the next convener, buddy. So
yeah, I remember that. I remember it well. It was the Rugby Union Club. Dino did an amazing job. It wasn't a matter of WhatsApp groups back then. It was a matter of faxing individuals because no one had phones. People had bleepers, buzzers, or faxes. Everyone had a fax, right? And I was staying with Robin Bradbury and Sandra, on their sofa when I first arrived. Just this thing would just be faxes all night when I was trying to sleep. On the floor in the morning was a pile of faxes, a lot of them from you. Are you available for tomorrow? And he was trying to put out 5 teams. I think that was before we had a women's team even. But you used to do a lot of that on the Union's ticket. You know, their fax machine was getting a hiding. But you're right. I went to the toilet at the AGM, and there was 3 Fosters, and I remember you just filling me full of Fosters. And I came back from the toilet. There was a folder, Dino's folder of faxes. Good luck, bro.
Good luck. I'm out of here.
But I had a question earlier from Paul Wellington, Welly, who played with us back then, and he asks, what was your favourite shift? I mean, you spent some time in Indonesia, in Bandung,
Yep.
and KL in Malaysia,
Yep.
and you had big effort over there, and you contributed. You started rugby over there almost, and you came back to Hong Kong for a second shift. He wants to know which was your favourite gig or your spell.
Oh, mate, I mean, they're all good for so many different reasons, you know. Delhi would be, the top of the pinnacle, to be honest. Just opportunities it gave me. My 2 beautiful daughters, Kia and Jordan, have experienced all of it. Kia's in Hong Kong now, and just thriving the opportunity of, what Dad's been through, I suppose. They were quite young when I went to Bandung, Jakarta, Indonesia, and Malaysia. But they know pretty much what I sort of achieved, what was done. Just stuff like what I went through in Indonesia, from Bali, development, national team in Malaysia. Things happen for reasons, I suppose, but it's all rugby related. Everything that happened was rugby related. Nothing happens in Malaysia. They're about maybe 2 hours behind a meeting. But you know what it was like. The keenest mustard. Indonesia, probably 2 years behind a meeting. The keenest mustard. Learn a language. Hong Kong just happens, So what was probably the highlight? I mean, Hong Kong in general as a whole package was probably a highlight for me.
Yeah.
And I've got a daughter born there.
Yeah.
Met my first wife.
His second question was, any chance of you running for Mayor of Cambridge?
Funny that. I thought about that, actually. I looked at the mayor driving through town. He had a pretty fresh car.
Did you ask?
Is there any kit?
So I asked around.
Asked him.
And then I saw him at a cafe, and he looked actually pretty posh with certain shoes. And as I said earlier on, I left my jandals at Hewson, so I'm walking around town bare feet. So I don't think I'll get the mayorship if there's anything. And he'd probably pay sub, so I'm out of the equation.
Yeah. Okay. And Hughes, same for you, really. You came with your own haircut in 21 and a weather-beaten 21-year-old from a stud. You're leaving with a beautiful family and young kids. Claire, Emily, and Jacob, and a lot to look forward to. And they say that you can. It's hard to leave Hong Kong. It really is. I mean, a lot of people watching will empathise with that. That year after year, it's like, okay, we've got to go now, but it's just too good to leave. And that must have been a really hard decision for you. And secondly, the way it's ended has been, a little bit unfortunate. It would have been good to be doing this in front of everyone at the ball in March and all that sort of stuff. And
no, it is. It's really unfortunate how it's ended, but I look back with great memories. I've got so many good friends. I'm probably owe quite a few barbecues out there. How many I promised, but haven't delivered on. I'll have it in March, but it didn't really happen. I'll get you around at the 7th, but that didn't happen either. I've got so many. I'll get back to Hong Kong at some stage and have a proper farewell. But everyone's having a good time there now. I think everyone's at the bars and probably drinking beer rather than listening to us.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so indeed. Let's wrap it up then. Just a final message from you guys. Party messages, thoughts. You haven't left Valley. You never left Happy really. You're always a member of Heltap. You're always going to be a member of Valley and the Hong Kong rugby scene. What you've done there at club level, international level. parting messages. What do you hope for Valley and Hong Kong rugby? It's going to be an interesting few years ahead.
Mate, I'm very excited. First of all, congratulations to you for taking over the role of COO.
Smoke bomb there.
Smoke bomb. Another go to the toilet, did you? Another folder. I think you do a fantastic job, and I think I reiterate what you said on podcast number 1. The exciting times for the club. But as I said, you're a club man. I've seen you in action before, so not so much Valley itself. Valley Fort, Valley Netball, Valley Hockey. It's just going to boom. It's just, I'm very pleased to say that walk away that it's going to continue. So all the best for everyone. There's so many great people I can thank, and I don't want to miss out anybody. Valley Fort, people that I've met will always remain friends and so forth. So thank you very much to everybody from everything that I've done and your support in the club, outside of the club, just being friends. Thank you to Classified. Thank you for Bar and Grill. Just in general, Happy Valley. List can go on and on. So first, Valley has always been Valley. As Clarkie would say, once a Valley man, always a Valley man. Sure.
Kiss the badge.
Kiss the badge, yeah. Sweet, bro. Yes.
Yeah, look, I just want to send a big thank you out there to all the boys who'll be watching, and wish you all the best for next season as well. But just want to thank all the coaches that I've had all the way through my career as well, for Hong Kong and for Valley. Heggie as number 1, bringing me over to Hong Kong. I'm very appreciative. And then, you go all the way through. You go Nick Ledger. You go, who was that there? Heggie again.
The other guys.
There was Paul King. There was Deano Herewini. There was Mark Fatialofa, Ned, Jack. The list goes on. Really, really good people, and all the boys that are still playing. Keep going hard. Keep the Valley traditions alive, and really, really go well. And thanks to all the sponsors of the club. Good luck for Fats next year, first year as head coach. Good luck to Boozer next year, first year as COO of Valley. And go Valley.
Cheers, Hews. Cheers, Dino. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks, Foz, for the facilities and for the ride to the pub, Brent Taylor. And thanks, Valley, for sponsoring our feed down at the Italian restaurant. On behalf of, the whole club, to these fellas here, I've known them for as long as anyone, and they're good mates, and we'll never forget them. And they'll always be Valley people. They've helped craft our culture, the way we operate, who we are, and let's sort of raise a beer right now for those guys and have a drink. Thanks for joining us on the podcast. Sorry it didn't really work out technically earlier on with the guests. Want to thank all the guests for tuning in. It was good to see your faces, even if we couldn't hear you, and you can see the Facebook messages still coming in now. So have a good night in Hong Kong. Keep your social distancing, 1 or 2 meters apart, and see you in episode 3. Thanks for joining The Horse of Course.
Cheers.